Hello, this is Dr. Ella Thorpe with Tustin Longevity Center. We are a group of 5 clinicians, and we are an integrative medical practice. We've been here 18 years. The purpose of these little seminars is to try and open this up to a more broader audience. I have so many patients who have friends and family who have questions about integrative medicine. And what is integrative medicine? It is the merging together of standard Western medicine. We are trained and licensed through the standard medical system. I'm a medical doctor, MD, and Dr. Merrick is a physician, OBGYN, who now practices functional medicine with us. Dr. Cindy Mitchell is a OBGYN who practices mostly OBGYN, but as natural as possible methodology. Dr. Kaur is a naturopathic physician who practices integrative medicine here. And P.A. Patel is our physician assistant who also practices integrative medicine. So the 5 of us are working here to assist our patients in understanding how to get the best from lifestyle changes along with standard medical care. We're not at war with our colleagues in standard medicine. We do prescribe prescription medicines. We do honor our specialists. If we need a specialist, we call upon them often. And we have a wide variety of patients. We have patients from athletes and children up to the very elderly with multiple medical problems. I would say we take insurances, several insurances, and the reason why we do that is we're trying to make this available to the largest population we can, so to help medicine change to a more preventative model rather than a reaction model, disease management. So when we say healthcare system, we truly are talking preventing disease. And so to do that, you have to invest some time to understand what may be happening to you as time passes and you age. We need to help you understand how to stay as physiologically and emotionally, spiritually fit as possible. So we're integrative doctors, and our goal here on these broadcasts are to get your questions. May offer a theme topic. Today, we want to talk about enzyme and enzyme therapy. But remember, as integrative doctors, we see everything connected. We don't see one isolated system management. We see a multi-dimensional involvement of any one thing we're talking about. So we want to encourage your questions. We're live so that you can type in a question. I have my staff here. Blake is ready to receive a question if you want to ask me something. So this becomes more patient-driven rather than me deciding what I think you want to hear about. And hopefully in this course, if you have a question, type it in the chat, and then Blake will tell that to me. Now, we picked enzymes to start with today, and that's because when I did my training, of course, in my background, my father was in food research at Armour Food Research, so I grew up as a little girl in the food research industry, and I became very aware of food marketing and manipulation, management for profit. And we became very concerned about many of the current arguments over diet since I was a little child. I'm 66 now, and I probably come with better than 50 some years of experience in this field. When I went to college, I majored in chemistry and biology. I had a double major. I minored in biochemistry and military science. I served in the military as a Army physician for about 10 years and did flight surgery work and took care of pilots. So I had a lot of preventive medicine experience. But when I went through my training, one of the things they talked about in my old professors in the 1970s, early 1970s, was the value of enzymes. Enzymes are some of the early critical biological molecules that were discovered. Dr. John Beard in the turn of the century to the early 1900s started studying enzymes and the pancreas. Dr. Wolf in Germany started working on this. A lot of Eastern and European medicine is naturally more integrative, and a lot of research on enzymes has been done in Europe. And we have a lot of references to the fact that enzymes basically are a biological molecule. They're almost all proteins, and they are designed to catalyze or assist in the speed of biochemical reactions. So if you need to repair a torn muscle as an athlete, or a tendon, or any other part of your tissues, you have an enzyme that works in the repair of muscles, of tendons, of even if you had a heart attack, you have to have repair of tissues in that area. So enzymes are catalysts that speed up the reactions that would otherwise take a very, very long time. We have to have enzymes because of the rate of speed of reactions that we demand for our daily activity is so high that we would all quickly fall apart if we didn't have enzymes speeding up our reactions. Now, in general, there's two categories of enzymes that we talk about in our medical practice, although there's all kinds of enzymes from inside the cell and inside the mitochondria, all throughout the body's physiology. There are tons, thousands of enzymes. But in general, we can affect these through lifestyle changes. One would be all of us as we age, secrete less digestive enzymes into our stomach cavity upon eating, or even thinking of eating, or even chewing gum. By the way, if you chew gum, what will happen is you will start signaling to your brain and your stomach, and the vagus nerve will start talking to your stomach, anticipating a meal. So as you get older, I would not recommend gum chewing and wasting enzymes on an empty stomach when you're chewing gum. But enzymes diminish with age. And so if you eat your food, you are going to require the breakdown of the proteins into amino acids for absorption. You're going to require breakdown of the fats into fatty acid molecules. You're going to require the carbohydrates, starches, fruit sugars broken down into their elemental sugar molecules for absorption and use in your body. And if you don't have these enzymes, plus if you don't have hydrochloric acid produced, your ability to digest diminishes. And as your ability to digest your food diminishes, your ability to protect from bacteria, because when we eat food, we are taking in not just food, but there are certain things, like when the waiter walks through the restaurant, maybe someone sneezed and there's the sneeze cloud, and you walk your plate through that sneeze and you get laid on your food, viruses and particles that you don't want. And yet we have in our stomach, God was very smart to put a lot of acid in there and enzymes that breaks it down. And this is part of your first defense. Of course, you have immunoglobulins in your saliva and so forth. Again, it's hard to talk about one thing without talking about all the interrelational aspects. So enzymes are for digesting your food. This is well understood. It diminishes with age. So let's say you're getting into your 50s and you're not digesting your food as well. You start having food stay in your stomach longer and longer, waiting for that digestion to occur. If it doesn't move along at the standard rate within an hour moving out, or 2 hours into the duodenal passage through the pylorus into the small intestine, if you bend down to tie your shoe or to pick up your grandchild or something, you are going to create intra-abdominal pressure. And if you have a weak esophageal sphincter to the stomach, you're going to burp up some of that stomach liquid contents and start getting reflux. If you lay down, it's going to roll back silently to your larynx, give you a sore throat and other symptomology. So eating your food, digesting it, and having it move into the small intestine is very important. And if you don't digest it, then the particles are not broken down in fashions that you're designed in your machinery of your small intestine to recognize. Let's say you improperly digest a fat or a protein, or they're normally supposed to look like this on presentation, maybe they look like this. And then what will happen then, because they weren't digested well to present like this, but now they're kind of like this, your immune system lining your gut is going to see these incomplete digested particles, molecules coming through, and they're going to be alarmed. Is this an invasion? Is this a bacteria? So you'll waste your immune system on maldigested food, proteins, fats, even sugars. Now, sugars are the most easily digested and broken down. By the way, have you ever noticed if you go to a nursing home, you'll see in the nursing home, maybe they'll have a steak, a ground steak, or they'll have chicken, but the people tend to be eating out the ice cream, they'll eat the mashed potatoes. As you age, the easiest thing to digest is sugar, starch, carbohydrates, fruit sugars. And so in the old folks' homes, you will see them start consuming the cheap, less valuable foods such as puddings and mashed potatoes and their ice cream and so forth, rather than their fatty protein pieces. And this hastens their death because we're made of protein and fat, not fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables contain our macro and micronutrients, but we are made of protein and fat. If this was made of starch and sugar, it would be hard like candy. So we're made of fat so that we're pliable, and protein. If you Google the structure of the cell membrane, it is made of protein and fat. Do cell membrane composition, and it'll tell you it's made 50% of protein, 50% of fat. There is a glycocalyx on the inside lining of the blood vessels, on endothelial lining of your blood vessels, but that will immediately go away upon insult or injury, and it's only been recently discovered. That's an aside, but primarily your protein is 50% fat, 50% protein, and in your brain, it's more like 70% fat, 25% protein. So we have any questions yet, Blake?
Yeah, we have 4 really good ones. The first question here is, what is the difference between VitalZyme XE and VitalZyme Vanilla? And for the crowd, they're referring to our actual supplements that we sell here.
All right. In our medical practice, instead of recommending nonsteroidal inflammatory drugs like aspirin and Motrin, Aleve, and ibuprofen, we tend to use systemic enzymes. So there are digestive enzymes that we make to digest our food. And the second category are systemic enzymes, of which there's many, 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 many. These systemic enzymes help break down injured tissues, injured cell membranes, and we get them all day long. You use your body during the day, you have some breakdown, and you go to bed at night and you're supposed to repair these membranes. Or you might traumatize yourself and fall and have a fractured wrist or a sprained ankle. Or you might be starting to get arthritis in your hips and so forth. You might be getting constipated and damaged intestine. All kinds of things could be happening. Sinus congestion, inflammation in your sinuses. Anywhere cell tissues are injured, you have to clean up that debris. And there is a term for this that you can look up. It's called autophagy, A-U-T-O-P-H-A-G-Y. Autophagy is the concept that we digest parts that are damaged to allow the new to grow in and replace. And this is where systemic proteins come in extremely importantly, because if you're aging and making less digestive enzymes, you're also making less systemic enzymes. And if you hit your 60s and you are feeling stiff in your back, stiff in your hips, stiff in your knees, having a sense of pain and soreness, then you are probably falling behind in your ability to repair some cellular material in your knee, your ankle, your back, your joints, anywhere, your sinuses, and starting to suffer this human cellular inflammatory debris, and we call it inflammation. This also is happening to blood vessels with cardiovascular disease on the lining. They'll get damaged and start building up debris. So what we do, instead of telling you to take these nonsteroidals, we'll tell you to take VitalZyme. This is made in Japan as a pharmaceutical. This has been tested clinically here for, I would say, close to nearly 20 years now. The composition, and of course I met with the owner of the company, I understand the makeup of this. This is composed of enzymes that both break down the fat, the proteins, the sugars, and it has a very special enzyme in it called serrapeptase. Serrapeptase is made by, as you know, the silkworm. And the silkworm makes this silk, and silk is one of the most strongest fiber molecular constructs we know of in the world, okay? And yet, serrapeptase is the enzyme that they make that they can break up their own silk strands. So this has this ALMA in it. These enzymes, like serrapeptase, have been studied in cardiovascular research so that if you get a heart attack or a stroke, they will actually infuse a enzyme to help break down the recently formed clot or blockage in your heart or brain and stuff. So we give systemic enzymes to allow, and I take these every day. I take 6 every morning on an empty stomach because I don't want this to digest my food. I want this to be absorbed into my system. So it helps me at 66 work out 5 times a day, work a full-time business and as a physician. Of course, when we're done here, I'll be seeing patients. And so I take enzymes every day to help with my cleaning of my body. I often tell my patients, these are my internal soap suds. Now, as an aside, there is a less expensive form of VitalZyme. This type also has serrapeptase in it, but it's about half strength, but it's about half the price. So in order to try and make these things available to the public without the side effects you get from nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories, the risk of bleeds, ulcers, and damage that it does, kidney damage from using Motrin. My own father at 87, actually I didn't know he was reaching for the Motrin too much, and he had a bleed out and then died the next day. So you can harm yourself with nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories. I haven't seen that with this. Now, a caveat on this is if you're going to have surgery, we ask you to stop your systemic enzymes at least 4 days before surgery, but we tell you to resume them the day after surgery to help with the healing after the tissue damage. So this is about half price, half strength. This is the highest quality and is a prescription in Japan. Here it is over the counter. The other forms we have are Proteozyme. Proteozyme also is a very excellent product. It too has serrapeptase in it. And again, clinically, we've tested this. It's very good. So we try and offer many price ranges. And then finally, we have VascuZyme. VascuZyme does not have serrapeptase in it. I'm always speaking with the owners of Orthomolecular, and they are looking at putting that in and trying to keep the price affordable. We take all these systemic enzymes on an empty stomach because we want it absorbed into our body. So if I have sinus pain, I'll take 10 twice a day. If I have knee pain, I'll take 10 twice a day. I have some cancer patients who I am helping work their nutritional and detoxification and their immune support with enzymes. I do not suggest to them that I am their oncologist at all. I'm working with their oncologist. But Dr. Nick Gonzalez in New York, and then had to move to the Caribbean, I believe. He did a lot of research on using enzymes, high dose therapy, to help break down fibroids or tumors and cancers and things like that. So he'll use as many as 60 tablets a day or more of enzymes on an empty stomach with his cancer patients. Again, that is pretty much the takeout on those two. Is there another question, Blake?
Yeah, quite a few here. You pretty much just answered this one, but just for good measure, this person said, would you recommend systemic enzymes for everyone, and how would you take them? Which you pretty much just covered.
Yeah, enzymes are needed by everyone, especially with aging. Now, there is a category of patient, if you have blood type A. Dr. Diadamo wrote a book called Eat Right for Your Blood Type, and he discussed the imbalances of the blood types that we have with the ability to make digestive enzymes. An A-type blood as a general class does not make as much digestive enzymes and betaine hydrochloric acid as a B, AB, or an O. The positive or negative doesn't matter so much. Anyway, so if you're talking about being young, I put all my patients who are blood type A on digestive enzymes as young children. And I do that throughout their life. I tell them that they'll need this throughout their life. And I'm going to say this right now because I've observed this as a physician. Over the almost 40 years, I'm right about at the 40-year point of practicing medicine integratively. I've seen the whole gamut. I have seen it from the old mom and pop shop that my dad used to take me to in the 50s as a child, where there would be some vitamins and nutrients. And when he brought my grandfather at 7 to get chelation in Zion, Illinois, with the Great Lakes Medical Association, what was that? GLACAM, the Great Lakes Association for the Advancement of Medicine, turned into ACAM, the American Academy for the Advancement of Medicine, of which I was a board member and did research on. So I've seen this whole gamut, and I'll tell you, enzymes are foundational. If you're blood type A, you need it as a child all the way through your life. As all of us get older, I started needing it in my 50s, so I've been on it about 16 years now. I would say, if you asked me how many of my patients have blood type A, I would say about 90% of my patients are a blood type A. And I don't ask and advertise to just get blood type A patients. And that speaks to the fact that if you don't digest well, and you're wasting your immune system all the time on these partially digested molecules, then your immune system is going to be worn out and you'll succumb to breakdown and disease sooner. So it is the A that comes to me earlier in their life illnesses and problems because they're not digesting as well. And then there was another question?
We have a couple more. We probably have about 10 minutes left. The next question here is, I take both VitalZyme XC and Vascuzyme. Can I take them all together in the evening before bed, or is it better to space them out morning and evening?
They're fine to take together. Remember, these are systemic enzymes. Vascuzyme does not have the serrapeptase, VitalZyme does. And so as a cost-saving measure, you might take some VitalZyme and take maybe more of the Vascuzyme to enhance your volume of systemic anti-inflammatory action with the Vascuzyme. They're both excellent products. Of course, the VitalZyme has the serrapeptase in it.
Great. And the next person's asking, what is a sign of low stomach acid, since you mentioned that earlier?
Well, very often low stomach acid is misinterpreted as too much stomach acid, in the sense that if you're not digesting and you have the liquid underdigested food, and remember the pylorus from your stomach to the small intestine duodenum, that sphincter does not want to open until it biochemically is signaled that the digestion is complete, meaning killing bacteria, viruses, any bad thing that might have gotten into your food. And so it's waiting for the pH to drop close to 2, and I've heard as low as 1.5 pH in your stomach with digestion. So if you're a blood type A or you're not digesting well, I don't see that your pH is becoming as low enough with enough hydrochloric acid and enzymes. And so that liquid chyme will stay there. Your pylorus will not open yet. It just wants to wait for you to get that better digested. And what will happen then is you'll start burping up into your esophagus to your stomach. This part of this tube here is designed to be at a pH of a 7, okay? So you have a sphincter between your stomach and your esophagus, the esophageal gastric sphincter. And if you have this bolus of maybe a pH of 4, 3.5, and you burp that into your esophagus, you are going to feel the heartburn, the pain, the irritation of that pH, because you are trying to make some acid, you are trying to make some enzymes. And then what will happen is often the doctor will give you antacids, which in my opinion compounds the problem usually, unless you have some very acute problem and you need to stop very erosive esophagitis and the ring there. But in the meantime, you need to help that patient digest better. So very often people with low stomach acid and digestive enzymes have the heartburn, the reflux, and so forth, which means it's staying in their stomach too long after a meal. The pylorus doesn't want to open. And I usually make them all better with intermittent fasting, giving more empty time for healing. We will talk about on another visit some of the things we use to heal the stomach, but I definitely have them take digestive enzymes when they eat their food to finish it up, and the door will open and it'll move on out.
Great. And you had a couple questions that were very similar to each other, so I'll just verbalize it as they're wondering about taking enzymes while fasting versus taking enzymes while not fasting. Is there a better option?
Well, two things. I take my enzymes every day of my life, unless I'm going to have surgery, but I'm never sick, so praise God for that. I will take digestive enzymes when I eat food. Now, let's say I forgot to take my enzyme and it's been 2 hours since I ate. You better believe I'll take those digestive enzymes 2-3 hours later, because I want to make sure it gets low enough to empty it out. And very often a woman who's had babies, her gastroesophageal junction will have been stretched. So I can easily get food burped up again. So I know whether or not my stomach is empty. So I always take my digestive enzymes with food. But if I'm fasting, I don't take digestive enzymes because I haven't put any food in my stomach. But I do always take my systemic enzymes on an empty stomach. And I'll do it multiple times a day on an empty stomach if I've injured myself or I feel like I'm coming down with something. Yeah, another question?
Yeah, great. One person's asking if there's a supplement that we have here that can help with a rash in a place of friction, so like an armpit rash or something like that.
Is there a supplement that we have for that?
Right.
Well, the answer is your body is designed to heal. And if the skin is in a form of a rash, that's injured tissue. Injured tissue has to be eliminated, autophagy, okay? And so enzymes help decrease the inflammation of that injured area, and enzymes will assist with that. But topically, depending on what the rash is, very often if it's a rash under your arm, that's usually fungus, typically under the arm, and you need to look at your blood sugar level and have a physician look at it, because we can, by sight, really determine pretty much whether it's there. If it's a rash elsewhere, it could be fungus, it could be poison ivy, it could be a topical irritant, it could be bug bites and so forth. I use, and I don't have it here because that wasn't the focus of today, I use my parent essential oils, which is linoleic, alpha linoleic oil, and I rub that on my skin because the cell membrane is a double layer of phospholipids, and protein matrices, okay? And they have a very special fatty acid in those little phospholipids, and those phospholipids that are very special are called linoleic acid and alpha linoleic acid. Those are the only essential ones. Notice that's not EPA and DHA, and your trillions of cells need it. So if every cell needs it and your skin is injured, by the way, the same thing applies to literally irritation of the gut is basically a rash of the gut. I rub this on my skin, especially as I age, because skin thins with aging, skin dries out with aging. And so I will just apply a drop or two to my shins where I tend to flake the skin there or on the back of my hands. I also put my natural hormones on the back of my hands so I don't get that old, crepey, rippy skin of an elderly woman. There's lots of things to talk about.
Great. We probably have time for about one more question. This person's asking, they're saying, I'm a blood type A, and they take Vascuzyme 4 times a day or 4 pills daily. Should they take VitalZyme as well on top of that?
No, and then if you see a physician who is familiar with integrative medicine or one of the clinicians here, we're going to be able to look at your inflammatory blood markers. We usually check blood once or twice a year on all of our patients. And enzymes help decrease inflammation. And inflammation is, the body on fire, the blood vessels on fire. And Vascuzyme is an excellent enzyme. I'm not saying you have to add in VitalZyme. It depends on your unique visit. And again, I should say as we end that this isn't meant to prescribe to you over the internet. I am talking about general things. I'm not trying to tell any one person who might be listening to this that this is my advice medically to you. I am talking in general, and I do invite you to come and find integrative doctors in your area and maybe present this video to them if you have a question on it, or come back next week and bring your questions, and we will track the direction that this goes. If we start seeing more questions and more people on here, then what we'll do is we will make this a little bit longer, and we might do it more often. Instead of once a week, we'll do it twice a week. Now, our clinic does do a seminar at tlcdoctors.com. That's our website. We do a monthly seminar, and this last one was on detoxing and most specifically EDTA chelation and the recent scientific papers that have looked into this with very favorable results. So we looked at this in depth. We do it on the second Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We invite you to join us there because I also take questions during those seminars. That's when I'm actually presenting a topic. Now, September 12th is the next date that will be, and Dr. Merrick and Dr. Mitchell are going to be focused on a seminar on hormones. So you might be wanting to discuss that. And men, you also can join in because we do treat men and we do work with male hormone replacement therapy here. So no, you don't have to take Vascuzyme and VitalZyme for the serapeptase. It's an individual thing. If you can afford VitalZyme, I do think that it is better because it contains serapeptase, but I really do think Vascuzyme is an absolutely fantastic product in and of itself for most people, for most all general causes. All right, thank you for joining us. See you next week.